If you had bariatric surgery, but now you're finding yourself struggling with regain, or maybe you have a really terrible relationship with food, you are not alone. And today, I'm sharing 5 critical secrets that I've discovered through my own bariatric journey and my work with bariatric clients that can completely transform your relationship with food and your body after surgery. And these are not the typical eat your protein, drink your water tips that you've heard 1,000 times from your doctor or dietitian. These are paradigm shifting truths that most surgeons and nutritionists never even mention. And these strategies have helped dozens of my clients maintain their results, lose regain, heal a relationship with food, and I'm confident that they're going to help you. These are the 5 bariatric weight loss secrets that I would have sold my soul to know sooner. Now, before we begin, I want to acknowledge something very important. If you're experiencing regain after bariatric surgery, it's not because you're lazy, lack willpower, or you don't want it badly enough. What I've discovered through working with my clients is that maintaining success isn't about stricter diets or more tracking. It's about addressing the deeper psychological and lifestyle factors that are rarely discussed in standard post-op care. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to share 5 powerful secrets that have consistently helped my clients transform their relationship with food and maintain their results long term. And these principles work whether you're years post-op or just starting your journey. So, secret number 1, the food stress connection. This might be the most powerful secret on this list, so pay close attention. Most bariatric patients are told their surgery fixed their hunger. But here's the truth. A significant portion of post-op eating has nothing to do with physical hunger, stress, emotions, and mental fatigue. So let me break this down. The average bariatric patient experiences stress-triggered eating multiple times daily, and each stress response can lead to unplanned grazing or a complete abandonment of whatever you plan to eat. This alone can add hundreds of extra calories daily that bypass your surgical tool entirely. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself standing in the kitchen, snacking on something and thought, I'm not even hungry. Why am I eating right now? And that's the food stress connection at work. And what's happening physiologically is fascinating. When you experience stress, your body releases cortisol, which does 2 critical things. First, it increases insulin resistance, affecting your blood sugar regulation. Second, it directly stimulates your brain's reward pathways, making calorie-dense foods more appealing. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Molecular Psychiatry demonstrated that chronic stress actually rewires your brain's neural circuits, strengthening the connection between stress and reward-seeking behavior like reaching for comfort foods. And this explains why willpower alone isn't enough. You are literally fighting against neurological programming that evolved over thousands of years to help humans survive periods of scarcity. What's even more interesting is that after bariatric surgery, the stress eating pathway may actually intensify. Research from the Cleveland Clinic found that while the physical hunger hormone ghrelin decreases after surgery, emotional eating patterns remain unchanged or even intensify as patients lose access to their primary coping mechanism. And here's a technique that's transformed how my clients manage this. It's called the STOP method. S is to stop and pause time. We literally want to pretend we're a time traveler hitting the pause button. And I want you to stop what you're doing in that moment. Take a breath and create space between the urge and the action and think. Think about why you're feeling the need to reach for food. What emotions are coming up for you right now? And then O is to observe. Am I feeling physically hungry or emotionally head hungry? So ask yourself, am I actually hungry or is this a stress and emotion? And then P is to proceed with awareness. Either eat mindfully if you're truly hungry or address the real need. And the science behind this approach is called cognitive diffusion, a scientifically validated process of separating yourself from automatic thoughts. And a 2021 study in the Journal of Eating Behaviors showed that simply creating a 10-second pause between the urge and action can reduce non-hunger eating by up to 70%. One of my clients shared that this simple technique was what finally broke her stress eating cycle after years of struggling. And she now says that she can enjoy food without guilt and has transformed her relationship with eating. The power of this approach is that it addresses the root cause instead of just treating symptoms. And by learning to distinguish between true hunger and stress eating, you regain control of your most powerful tool, your brain and your mind. Secret number 2, identity transformation. This might sound abstract at first, but it's actually the foundation of lasting success, and it's backed by fascinating neuroscience. Here's the problem. Most bariatric patients still see themselves as weight strugglers, even after surgery. They view themselves as someone who's fundamentally broken when it comes to food and weight, who just happens to have a surgical tool temporarily controlling their eating. But successful maintenance requires a complete identity shift from weight struggler to health master. And this isn't just positive thinking, it's about fundamentally changing how you see yourself. So the science behind this is compelling. Neuroscientists at Stanford University have shown through functional MRI studies that our identity, the way that we see ourselves, is directly linked to our decision-making processes. So when we make choices that align with identity, the brain's conflicting monitoring centers show minimal activity. But when we try to force behaviors that contradict our self-concept, these areas light up like a Christmas tree, creating mental resistance and depleting our psychological resources. So let me explain why this matters so much. When you identify as a weight struggler, every choice becomes a battle. Eating healthy feels like deprivation. Exercise feels like punishment. And when challenges arise, your brain's automatic response is, "See, Jessica, I knew I couldn't do this." What's fascinating is that this isn't just psychological, it's actually neurological. And research from the National Institutes of Health has demonstrated that identity-consistent behaviors require less mental energy because they primarily engage the brain's automatic processing centers rather than the effortful executive function areas. And in other words, when a choice aligns with your identity, it feels natural and requires minimal mental effort. Contrast this with someone who identifies as a health master. For them, healthy choices align with who they are. When they're offered a piece of cake or maybe a piece of candy or a cookie, they might think, I can have that if I want, but I actually prefer feeling energized and clear-headed. I know that's not going to make me feel that way. It's not about restriction. It's about alignment with their identity. And the most powerful question that you can ask yourself when facing a choice is not what should I do, but who do I want to be? Here's how to start this transformation. Begin noticing your current identity statements. Whether it's, I've always been a food addict, I can't control myself around carbs. Then challenge these beliefs with evidence of mastery. I've successfully maintained for periods before. I consistently show up for myself in other areas. Then create new identity statements. I'm becoming someone who naturally craves nutritious foods. I'm a person who values how food makes me feel. Then make decisions from your new identity, not towards it. In a groundbreaking study published in Current Directions in Physical Science, researchers found that people who viewed a healthy behavior as part of their identity, like I am a health conscious person, were 247% more likely to maintain that behavior long-term compared to those who use it as a goal, like I want to be healthier. What's fascinating is that neurologically, your brain actually begins to rewire itself when you consistently act from a new identity. And a 2020 study using advanced brain imaging showed that repeated identity-aligned behaviors create new neural pathways, gradually making these behaviors your default mode of operation. So then your choices become less about willpower and motivation and more about natural alignment with who you are. One of my clients, Christina, previously told me in a client success interview that for the first time in my life, I can look in the mirror and say, I love you. That's the power of identity transformation. Secret number 3, systems over willpower. This secret has single-handedly saved so many of my clients from the regain cycle, and it's grounded in fascinating research on habit formation. And here's a truth, a really harsh and hard truth about willpower. It's a finite resource that depletes throughout the day with every decision that you make. That's why you might be really great in the morning, but awful at night. And psychologists call this ego depletion, and it's been extensively studied at the University of Florida, where research demonstrated that self-control operates like a muscle that can be temporarily exhausted through overuse. What's worse is when high achievers experience even more decision fatigue because they're making important choices all day at work, with family, and other areas of their life. And the implications are profound. A landmark study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences analyzed 1,112 judicial rulings and found that judges were significantly more likely to grant parole in the morning or right after a food break when their mental energy was highest. As the day progressed, the likelihood of a favorable ruling dropped to nearly zero, regardless of case merit. And this same pattern affects your food choices as the day progresses. This is why relying on willpower to make good food choices consistently is a recipe for failure. So instead, successful weight maintainers create systems that make healthy choices automatic, requiring little to no willpower. And the science of habit formation supports this approach. Researchers at MIT have mapped the neurological basis of habits and found that once a behavior becomes automatic, it's processed by the basal ganglia, a part of the brain that requires minimal conscious effort. But in contrast, non-habitual behaviors are processed by the prefrontal cortex, which demands significant mental energy. Let me show you exactly what this looks like in practice. Instead of waking up each day and deciding what to eat, which requires willpower, successful maintainers create meal frameworks. Flexible frameworks that eliminate the what should I eat decision. Environmental design. They organize their kitchen to make healthy choices convenient and less healthy choices less accessible. Decision elimination. Reducing the number of food decisions made daily from 200 to under 50. Trigger protocols. Pre-plan responses for high-risk situations like stress, travel, or social events. And a fascinating study from the Cornell Food and Brand Lab found that people who kept fruits and vegetables on the counter weighed an average of 13 pounds less than those who did not, regardless of their intention to eat healthy. This perfectly illustrates how environmental design can be way more powerful than willpower. And when you have these systems in place, you don't need motivation or willpower to stay on track. And in fact, one of my clients told me what surprised her most about the program was how easy maintenance became when she stopped relying on willpower and started using systems. And the beauty of this approach is that it acknowledges reality. You are going to face stressful days, sad days, happy days, business travel, family gatherings, and emotional challenges. And having systems in place ensures that you can navigate these situations without derailing your progress. And I want you to think about it this way. If you were building a business, you wouldn't rely on feeling motivated each day. You'd create systems and processes and automation. So treat your health with the same level of strategic thinking. Secret number 4, recovery as priority. The secret lies in the face of conventional weight loss advice, but it's perhaps the most scientifically supported of all of them. Most bariatric patients believe that diet adherence is the number one factor in preventing regain. Research consistently shows that sleep quality and stress management are actually more powerful predictors of long-term success. The science here is compelling. A study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine compared 2 groups following identical diets, and the group that got adequate sleep lost 55% more body fat than those who were sleep deprived, despite consuming the same exact calories. Here's why. When you're sleep deprived, your body produces more ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and less leptin, the fullness hormone. This hormonal imbalance can increase hunger by up to 45%, even with your surgical tool in place. But there's more happening than just hunger hormones. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley used functional MRIs to scan the brains of participants after normal sleep and after sleep deprivation. And what they found was alarming. Sleep deprivation significantly impaired activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for decision-making and impulse control, while simultaneously increasing activity in reward centers that respond to food. And this creates the perfect neural storm for emotional eating and regain. It's like trying to drive with the accelerator stuck down while the brakes are failing. And then chronic stress compounds these effects. When researchers at Yale measured cortisol levels in participants under chronic stress, they found significant increases in abdominal fat, even without increases in calorie consumption. And this suggests that stress management itself directly impacts your body's fat storage patterns, regardless of what you're eating. Let me share what optimal recovery looks like for bariatric maintenance. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, not just time in bed, but actual restorative sleep. Creating boundaries around work and electronic use, especially in the evening. Implementing a consistent wind down ritual to signal to your body that it's time to relax. Building strategic recovery periods into your day. Even 5-minute micro breaks can reset your stress response. In a fascinating study in the International Journal of Obesity, participants who practiced simple stress reduction techniques for just 10 minutes. That's it, folks. 10 minutes daily, lost 26% more weight than those following identical diet exercise programs without stress management. One of my clients who implemented this approach saw her cravings reduce dramatically within just 2 weeks. And she told me, I was so focused on what I was eating that I never realized how much my sleep issues were sabotaging me. The most powerful mindset shift here is viewing recovery not as lazy or indulgent, but as strategic and essential. Elite athletes prioritize recovery because they know it's when the actual growth happens. And the same applies to your bariatric journey. This doesn't mean that you need to add more to your already busy life. It means strategically prioritizing elements that support recovery, even in small ways throughout your day. Secret number 5, the mindset shift from all or nothing. This final secret is the number one reason why I see bariatric patients regain weight, and it's perfectionism. See this pattern constantly, over and over and over and over. Bariatric patients, they follow their plan perfectly for days or weeks. Then they have one off meal or day and spiral into I've ruined everything thinking. This leads to days or weeks of completely abandoning healthy habits, resulting in regain. This phenomenon, known as the what the hell effect in psychology, was documented first by researchers at the University of Toronto, and their groundbreaking studies showed that dieters who believed they had violated their diet rules, even slightly, experienced a cascade of negative emotions followed by significantly increased eating. And the neuroscience behind this is fascinating. When experiencing perceived failure, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex, which is the area responsible for error detection, becomes hyperactive, while the prefrontal cortex becomes suppressed. This literally creates a neurological state where logical thinking takes a backseat to emotional reactivity. And when I look at my clients' food journals, I often find that the actual slip up added maybe 300, 400 extra calories, and that's not enough to cause significant weight gain in one day. But the all or nothing thinking that followed added thousands more calories over the next few days. A study in the journal Appetite monitored participants' eating patterns and found that those who viewed dietary lapses as catastrophic gained an average of 9 pounds over a 6-month period, while those who viewed lapses as normal, temporary setbacks, actually continue to lose weight during the same period. And the math is clear. It's not the occasional deviation that causes regain. It's the perfectionistic response to normal human imperfection. Here's how successful maintainers approach this differently. They follow the always something principle, never going from 100% on plan to completely off track. They view consistency as a spectrum rather than binary on and off states. They have a pre-planned recovery protocol for when they deviate from their ideal. They measure success by their response to challenges, not by perfect adherence. And this approach is supported by research from the National Weight Control Registry, which tracks over 10,000 individuals who have maintained significant weight loss long-term. And one of their key findings is that successful maintainers consistently report quick recovery from setbacks as a defining characteristic of their success. And psychologists call this resilience thinking, and has been shown to activate different neural pathways than perfectionist thinking. While perfectionism activates the brain's threat response system, resilience thinking engages the prefrontal cortex, allowing for more balanced, solution-focused responses. One of my former clients, Valeria, shared that this mindset shift was her ultimate breakthrough. When I asked her about her biggest win, she didn't mention weight loss. She mentioned freedom from guilt around food and learning that weight fluctuations are normal. So to implement this shift yourself, start using the phrase, "and now," after any eating experience that didn't go as planned. This simple question redirects your brain from backwards looking judgment to looking action. A study at Stanford University found that this type of cognitive reframing reduced unhealthy compensatory eating by 70% among participants, suggesting that how we interpret our actions may be more important than the actions themselves. And remember, maintenance is not about perfect eating. It's about consistent course correction and resilience in a world full of challenges because they're everywhere. Can't escape them. But knowing alone isn't enough. Implementing these secrets requires support, and research shows guide implementation is 300% more effective than trying alone. So if you'd like personalized help applying these strategies to your unique situation, book a free bariatric success connection call with me at the link in the description. And we're going to assess your journey, identify your highest impact opportunities, and create a customized action plan. And these calls are completely free. Just click the link below to schedule yours, but space is limited each week. And I want you to remember one thing. Bariatric surgery was an easy way out. It was a brave, and with the right implementation of these secrets, you're giving yourself the best chance at lasting success and at living as long as possible. So let me know in the comments which secret resonated most with you, or if you have questions about implementing any of them. And thanks so much for watching. I hope to connect with you soon.